Hello again, this is episode 17 of August Wisdom, 31 episodes in 31 days with the Deep Psychology podcast. And today we are going to talk about the as-if method for change. This is a Deep Psychology podcast. I'm Ross Edwards, author, coach, podcaster, and avid practitioner and teacher of psychology and spirituality. In listening to this podcast, you're part of the worldwide deep psychology community of tens of thousands of people undertaking profound personal transformation. You can find me on Spotify and Apple, where I release new episodes every Thursday. If you dig what I do and want to help the show grow, share this with a friend and leave a review. You can also go deeper with this work by training with me at deep-psychology.com. Let's get started. So, the as-if method, let's talk about what I'm getting at here. So, listen, in my work as a coach, what I've basically discovered is that people look for very elaborate solutions to what's going on in their life, or very elaborate techniques, as though there were some sort of magic secret method for, say, learning how to meditate, or for learning a new skill, or anything along these lines. And what I've sort of discovered over the years is that basically this is a bit of a folly, essentially. Looking for a magic technique is a distraction. And what I've come to discover is what I'll call the as-if method for change, which is actually so simple that it might seem silly to give it a name. Let me give you an example of what I mean by the as-if method. So when you're a child and you're learning how to walk, you don't look for any magic techniques, right? What do you do when you're a child learning how to walk? You're crawling on your hands and knees. Every so often you get to your feet and you start basically stumbling along, perhaps with the help of an adult, but you get up and you try to walk basically, and you fail and you fall down, and then you're crawling again. And the next time you do that, you might do it slightly better. The next time you do it, you might do it slightly better than that. And basically what happens over the course of weeks and months is that your body adapts and you learn how to walk, right? And you did it by trying to walk. You didn't do it by watching videos about how to walk, or asking adults how to walk and them telling you and getting a theoretical model of how walking works and everything else. You didn't do it by thinking about it. You just got up and tried to do it. And when you failed, you got back on the horse again and started again, right? So this is the as-if method, because you're basically trying to do the thing as though you could already do it. The child who's walking has seen other people walk, and they're basically trying to replicate it. So it's as if they are doing it as if they could already do it. And this leads them to being able to do it, because their body eventually learns how to remain upright for extended periods of time. Okay? So this is basically the as-if method. This is really the method that I advocate. And again, it's kind of an anti-method, because there's no fancy gadgets or techniques involved. There's no secrets. There's no fancy technology or anything else. The basic approach is, if you want to get good at something, if you want to change something, if you want your personality to be a certain way, if you want to make any form of change in your life, one way is to do it as if. So you literally try and replicate the very thing that you're trying to become, or the very thing that you're trying to change. I'll give you an example from my life. So since 2020, I've been learning Mandarin Chinese. And one thing I was very clear about is that I wanted to be able to listen to it fluently. Now, it's taken me a while to get to a point where I'm near fluent listening. And what I learned through previous language study is that you can't really force it, you can't fake it, there's not really any shortcut to it. You have to just listen and slowly build up the speed slowly build up the complexity of what you're listening to, and make sure it aligns with what you already know about the language. And eventually, through immersion and through listening as though you could already listen, and then slowly working up and slowly closing the gap between your listening ability and the level of the thing that you're listening to, you eventually are able to listen, right? So I've basically used the as if method for my Chinese listening. I've said, look, there's not really a shortcut. So I'm just going to have to start with simple audios and then slowly work my way up. And what I've discovered is the exact same. It's as if. It's by replicating the new skill, you learn the new skill, right? It's the same as a child learning to walk. And at this point, I'm almost able to listen to Chinese people in certain situations speaking at full pelt, okay? And there's not been any fancy techniques involved. It's been just listening and according to my level, right? This happens in more subtle things as well. Like let's say we're trying to become more disciplined. So one way is to look for a fancy method or some sort of like sleight of hand technique. Another way is just to say, what does a disciplined person look like? What does a disciplined me look like? Let me make a list of those things. And then from my current state now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the as if method. I'm going to begin to basically behave in those ways. So maybe it means I'm studying an hour a day, a certain language. Maybe it means I'm working a certain amount of hours per day on my business. Maybe it means I'm giving up my habits. Maybe it means that, this disciplined person already has all those things installed because they are disciplined. So I'm going to write out a list of those and I'm going to slowly implement them until I get there, right? Now, this might sound too simplistic, but when you are disciplined, for example, you do not need to make an effort to be disciplined. What basically happens is that you have created the habits to such an extent that it looks like discipline from the outside, but from the inside it feels easy because the habits are all installed and you've worked through your bad habits and you know what you're working on and you know how much time you're dedicating towards it and you just do it, right? So by basically starting from our current state and adopting the habits we wish to adopt, imagining we are already disciplined, it's actually sort of obliging us to become disciplined, because the only way we can keep those habits going is by being disciplined. And you might say, well, that's kind of the chicken and the egg scenario. And my argument would be, well, the disciplined self isn't actually that far away. It's just that maybe you think it's a lot further away than it actually is, when it's more a bit like faking it until you're making it, like the child learning how to walk. You fake it until you make it. You do it as if until it becomes who you are. I just love, again, it feels strange to call this a technique or a method, but I think a lot of people miss this out, right? Especially nowadays where there's a lot of self-help information out there and there's lots of YouTube videos and even, ChatGPT, and there's so many methods out there and books and everything that, and they want to give you something more fancy because it sells and because it stirs your imagination and it gets you inspired and so on. But actually, I've found that the most direct way is the simplest and the most obvious and the most effective. And it's the one that leads you to the change. It obliges you to change because, like the child, the only way they can walk is by overcoming their current inability to walk. And the fastest way for them to do that is just to try and to get feedback on it and to be helped along until they can actually do it. So look at everything that you're involved with now, and I would just encourage you, stop trying to look for fancy techniques and shortcuts, and try and see if just going the direct route, the as-if approach, what exactly are you trying to get to? Who are you trying to become? What skill are you trying to learn? Etc., etc. And Go straight for it as though you could already do it, and watch what happens. Does it help? Does it actually get you to the change more directly? I don't know, but try it for yourself and see, and you might find this is what you've been missing. Alright, so that's the as if method for change. Just want to do a quick plug before I say goodbye that I've got 25% off my coaching program for August if you book in August, so come and check that out. I'd be really glad to work with you. Thanks a lot for joining me for this episode of August Wisdom. Make sure to join me tomorrow and every single day for the rest of August for a little piece of back pocket wisdom every day. Alright, thanks a lot and take care. Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode, please leave a review and share with a friend. And if you'd like to go deeper, head to deep-psychology.com to join my training. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon.